Welcome to my podcast. My name is Ethan Sherritt. This is the Joyful Podcast. It is a raw journal of the mindful revolution that we're experiencing, and I think it is. It is, not just think it can be. It's huge, and I want to make sure it lasts for years and years and years, so I might be harping on this thing for a while. And what is the mindful revolution? Well, people are sharing how to connect with oneself, how we go internal. And the problems of the world, they are going to get fixed because they don't need to be fixed if you're not fixed. And there's a lot of practices and techniques, methods, ideologies, paths to find this type of work, this internal work that I've been doing myself and learning about and sharing with you little by little as we go on. So thank you so much for listening. You can follow, Ethan Sherritt Official on Instagram. I'm working on building out just a joyful podcast Instagram. It's going to be more pertinent to the whole journey. That's exciting. It's like kind of a rebranding. I've been all about branding lately because it's some of the type of work that I've been doing. And it's important because the closer you are to what brand is being delivered, people know what you're going to get. So I hope you know what you're going to get, although you never know what the hell is going to happen. Hope you know what type of journey I'm on and what I'm trying to share about. I've got some cool co-hosts or interviewees coming up your way. At the end of this episode, this is going to be just a short episode, I have a phone call with a healer, a cool guy I'll introduce later, but we're going to close this thing out with that little bit of a phone call, and I hope you dig that. So, Ethan Sherritt Official on Instagram, same thing on YouTube for all kinds of stuff. And sponsorships are available. Please get in touch if you're interested in having anything that you have sponsorship abilities with, to reach out and help form this thing into something that is even more and more appropriate for people to consume. more content that gives you something, gives you some kind of value to take forward with you. That's what this is all about. Well, it's 3 things that I usually build each episode around. And let's see. So we got what's going on with me, the host. What am I experiencing in personal, professional, love life, maybe even. Also, the next thing is a method or a technique or a tool that I'm using as part of this mindfulness revolution. And third is a cultural observation or a statement about something going on in history or in the world at large, or just something that I'd like to say but am too lazy to write it down into an essay and submit it to a university and get it approved and published, because it's just kind of an opinion of mine. Anyway, what I want to talk about first is what's going on with me, and there's some big changes big changes professionally, and I want to reach out to people who maybe are looking for a new line of work, or to change their role, or to make more money. That you've made up your mind that I want a different kind of life. How do I get it? How much time is that going to take? Well, my whole past year has been kind of preparing me for this big change that I'm making. And what is that change? What are these things that can just rock your world a little bit and make you kind of realign things and regroup? Big thing. What did I just try? one of my things is try big. If you go on like my Instagram, try big. It's something that's important to me. If you're not trying big, you're not going to achieve big, and you're not going to have those big benchmarks to kind of look back and say, hey, that was pretty cool in life that I was able to do that. Well, I resigned from a nice job, a really cool job with, some nice, super awesome people who are experts in their field. And that field is something I've talked about a little bit before, multifamily real estate property investment companies. Another phrase for that people get if they're outside of that industry is we buy and manage apartment buildings. Sometimes just manage for other people who bought them. Sometimes even build apartment properties. But usually management was the thing that I excelled at for the last over a decade, almost 2 decades, as my hustle. So, why did I resign from that? Man, and what am I going through now without having that income and that stability? Well, let's get into that a little bit and see if I could share anything that might help you and your what you're doing. Yeah, I took a couple meetings for other positions and felt absolutely great from the work that I've been doing to be more valuable to similar types of companies. And those meetings felt great. I thought, this is going to be awesome. It's perfect timing for me to do this, but I'm not going to be able to get another job and invest myself into that unless I resign. So I gave myself a resignation. And my coworkers, my supervisor, she gave me her blessing. She also gave me a warning. Hey, Ethan, you may not want to do this. Even like she nominated me for this big accolade for our area, for our region, guy of the year type of thing. Even like the freaking week before I resigned. But I had already made up my mind, and I'd actually been thinking about it for a while. And so now, where am I? I am still in that middle of this job search, and that's the thing I wanted to share with you about. So in the spring or summer of the past year, I started this kind of goal to say I want to make twice as much money. I want to have responsibilities that I actually want to evolve and develop. I want to just feel more like I'm giving more of myself at work rather than, something that I'd already kind of mastered, if you will, and was starting to seem redundant. So, man, the Miracle Morning book that I talked about once before, it had me just really tapping into the best potential that you can and going full on with things in the morning. The Miracle Morning is if you're already doing some kind of routine before anybody else in your family wakes up, or just to give yourself that 1 hour. Sometimes people call it a power hour. Sometimes people call it just me time, like an hour of me time. Well, there's a whole book about it called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And basically these 6 activities that are very nourishing for your spirit, your soul, your mind, your emotions, such as reading, exercise, affirmations, visualizing, journaling, and being grateful. 10 minutes of each of those things in the morning, takes up about an hour, and you start to stack a few days like that together. Here's the thing. I never made it to 30 days in a row of doing that, but it so profoundly got me motivated to like build more skills that after like day number 4, I was like, I feel like I want to be an absolute master of my life, and I want to give in a way that is like so authentic that I enjoy it. and skills that kind of like life shows you some skills, right? And then to be able to apply those in a way that brings value. That's really what I was after. And visualizing like things that you want to accomplish or experience in life. That's the visualization aspect of it. I've put on my like Instagram before, like the vision board, the first vision board that I was working on with that. It's a good practice. And it's kind of like, it brings you back to cutting things out of a magazine, pasting them on a piece of poster board. That activity, it's cool. I had a friend that did it in Los Angeles, and I remember thinking, wow, you can just do that. You can start to put things that you want in front of you and make it so that just what's going on around you is not your only influence. The things that you want are your influence. So make sure you do that every day. And FYI, I need to do more of everything that I say on this podcast more myself, which is one of the reasons I love turning on this microphone and talking about it. So what I was doing was building skills in, I learned kind of videography. I took myself from like a 2 videographer to maybe a 7, and I started creating videos for the company I work for, or actually I started a brand that created videos featuring the different sites I worked for. You can look up that brand. It's Not Just Apartments. It's on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and there's a lot more big plans for that to go a bazillion times bigger, and that's one of the businesses I am working on and formulating. So just open myself up to that. I got more into training, coaching, teammates, staff members, what it's going to take to motivate people, to keep myself motivated. And I got into analytics a little bit. Where are we spending ad dollars? Where are we wasting ad dollars? What can we do more effectively with like Facebook Marketplace, Google My Business, some of these tools like that. Google Analytics, the Facebook has a few different products that you can use to really optimize things. That doesn't sound like all sexy and cool, but it is creative. And because you have to problem solve with things that are changing, and it's not like people's lives on the line, so you're just trying to figure out how to optimize some advertising, really. And when you combine that with the coaching and the mentoring and helping people along with what I've learned, that was awesome. So I wanted to deliver that more in another capacity, or in another, just more specifically do those big 3 things. So I do this resignation, and now, and that was a few months back, and now I'm a rideshare driver for Uber and of course Lyft. Ugh, Uber's fun. The Lyft can be kind of a bitch. I don't understand why people really use Lyft, and they're not sponsoring this yet. Maybe I'll come around on it with a little more practice, or if they sponsor me. But I just don't understand why people got with Lyft. But that's what I'm doing to bring in a little bit of money and pay for some of my bills in this gap. And let me explain that gap to you between these jobs, and why your boy Ethan doesn't have a full-time salaried job right now. That's because it's hard to get a job. Freaking hard to get a job, even though you think you're like perfect for them. There's a lot of people competing for them, and everybody wants to, hire somebody that they know already, for sure. And usually it helps if you're like a freaking baby millennial, and for some reason, somebody was just telling me about that today. One of the big employers in town, she was like, "Man, I work with just so many young people. It's weird." I'm doing doing this job search, and I want to warn you that what the early part of the work that I did of motivating myself, learning new skills, and like visualizing some targets that I wanted to hit, that's good. Do that. I was just talking to a dishwasher today, and guy said he's been there at this restaurant for 7 years. No, 3 years, but with the company at another restaurant for 7 years. He's like, I've never gotten a raise. And he was talking about just like how much he, how fast he is now, and people always come and hang out with him because he's always back there singing, and that he actually likes the job. He shows up early and cleans before like he's even allowed to get on the clock. And I wanted to walk into this restaurant and be like, do you guys realize you got such a valuable person right here? And if you don't give him a raise, like I'm gonna give you horrible reviews or something based on everything. I want to threaten this restaurant because this dishwasher that I gave a ride to today was so cool. But I asked him if he was open to starting to do that, and I gave him this warning I'm about to give you. If he does want to achieve more, step into more, like I do, build those skills, but expect it to take a longer time, like strategy-wise, to jump to that new position or to set up the business that brings in money. It's going to take a really long time, and you don't have to be like very smart to realize that. However, I'm realizing it now in a way that I did not realize that before. Because, I hadn't studied up on my resume or fixed it for like 7 years. And so my resume is nothing on there of what I've really can do now. So that needed to be completely overhauled. And, but it was the thing that I went out to right away. So I quit the job. I started applying for jobs, and I'm doing it with a shitty resume that looks horrible. And actually, I started just using the LinkedIn like printout as a resume, because I just assumed like, well, everybody's finding jobs on LinkedIn now and Indeed and everything like that. So people must be just used to perusing resumes formatted that way. I'd read that. I've heard that like on podcasts before that was like acceptable. However, I had a couple of awesome meetings. One of them, which was perfect. I'm talking about perfect. Like everything that I told you, that company basically that I had been working on, that company basically spelled out. That's what they want at this, and it was like not only like in general the research, the marketing, and coaching and training, not only just in general for any business, but it was like specifically in my apartment management field industry. And I went to this actually that was a second phone interview that I got to, an amazing, it was a good interview, very good. And I'm like, this whole thing has worked out perfectly amazing, like absolutely as I had visualized it. I'm about to make way more money than I have before, and I'm going to be doing like propelling myself with these skills that I want to. Well, a week goes by and I hadn't gotten a call yet. I was like, I get so cocky. I'm such a cocky bastard, or like kick myself and I'm no good. Like down on myself person. And that's one of the reasons I do all these things, to stabilize myself, because every one of us has potential to be high and low. Mine, definitely needs to come right into center and stay at the center point. And hopefully you can work on that yourself if you need it. But I was sure I was going to get this job, so it kind of like just made me like really question, why haven't they called yet? I'm starting to get nervous again. I had slowed down applying for jobs. I was still doing it, but I wasn't, doing it fervently, feverishly, hacking away at a computer for hours on end. I was kind of doing it more at a leisurely pace. And I wasn't seeking out every possible, bit of information I could get about my resume and going over it again and poring over it. Well, I don't get that call, so I do get back on the resumes and the apps a little more than I had been, and in correcting one of them, I mean, you make so many revisions, and there's like a little headline, a summary. How are those things for you guys? Like, hey, my name is Ethan Sherritt, and they put this little headline under there that's like, I'm a powerful, go-getter who can multitask and write good copy or something. So I don't know, what's a good one? I've studied what good ones are. I had what I thought was a good one. I had some people say, hey, that's a good headline. But then other people didn't like it, so I changed it. So all these revisions going on. I caught a typo in the LinkedIn. It was I corrected it, and I was like, damn it, I don't know how long that's been there. Well, so I have this little leather portfolio thing. It holds resumes on one side. It has a legal pad on the other side. I like white legal pads, not big, gaudy yellow ones. And I carried that with me I was using, I think I was using the library that time. Where I'm at has amazing libraries. I love this resurgence of libraries in this area. The people freaking love them, and they use them all the time here. The resume goes out with me. I go pick up my son, and I got the resume in the driver's seat, or the passenger seat right next to me, my little portfolio. And then it occurs to me, after I get my son in the car, I just corrected that typo on LinkedIn, and I have been using my LinkedIn profile, like printout, as my resume. And then my heart stops, and because it was kind of a bad typo. And I go, holy shit, when did I print out that resume? And turns out, I waited. I was just like, no, please, no. I put that portfolio in my son's bag. We go, park the van, go upstairs, and I just throw that thing down on the ground, open it up, and look at it. Sure enough, bam, right there, below my name, the word achieving spelled wrong. And as my headline printed out, and a few other things on there. As good as somebody says they are, that's a pretty big detail to overlook. And you can do that if you move too fast, So that kicked me off on a whole dear God, what do I how is soon as another perfect fit like that gonna come along? Well, when it does, I better be ready for it. So I got to work on the resume. I got so much help from my brother and his wife. They helped me along, and every time you make a little change on it, by the way, there's you feel like, dude, this change is really helpful. It sucked before. 5 minutes ago, I couldn't have gotten a job because my resume had this other thing on it. Now I've changed it and it's improved. So there's a lot of that goes on. And when you're scrambling things around, it takes a while to, just to double check it every single time you make a little move on it. And the process is a long time. And here's one more thing before I move on about this boring whole job thing. Interviewing. Learn how to interview. Do you know what interviewing is not? It's not just going and meeting somebody and shooting the shit with them. It's not. You need to rehearse several possible things you're going to say to a lot of typical questions that are going to come up, and then anticipate some other questions. Rehearse those answers. Have fun with them. Make sure you know them so that you're not actually reciting them, but that you've practiced the beginning, the middle, and the end of each answer. And then that's how you make that interview fast, efficient. You sound good. And then have several questions that are legit lined up. I didn't do that. You know what I did? I was like, let's talk. Let me tell you about my approach to everything. I actually spent more time like as if I had the job already, writing up what I was going to do in my first year there and studying up on the different sites I'd be working on, than I did. Like, yeah, I had almost a business plan ready for like what I thought was going to help with all these sites and what my approach would be. I studied that, got all excited as if I had the job, but I did not prepare for that interview. So after I didn't get that, I'm in like an interview seminar with an amazing recruiter that is, basically gave me that outline and gave all the students in her class this awesome packet to like follow. And she was like a super sharp corporate recruiter, executive recruiter who's been like doing that for years, and made it really easy to digest like how effective that can be and what it's going to seem like if you don't prepare that way. So that's it. That's what's going on with me professionally. And if you have any questions about what it's like now to Uber or to drive the ride sharing thing, please let me know. I'll go into that more later, but it's pretty awesome, and thank God for it, because you can make money doing that. And it's actually fun. Why? Because I get a captive audience to talk to while they're in my van. And people are fun to hear about what they have to say and get snippets from them. And of course, sometimes people don't want to talk. If you don't want to talk, you just have that weird silence or listen to some stupid pop song that neither you or the driver would ever listen to, but you're sitting there listening to it, breathing until you get to your destination. You can do that too. But it's much better to say something, even if it's just, I like lollipops. Say something. That's if I'm driving you around anyway. So it's cool talking to the passengers. What else? That's what's going on with me. Also, remember I said there's more going on with me. There is a romantic interest. It's pretty cool to be involved with somebody again. It can happen to you. You can do it. It's a little challenging after a relationship that ends and you are sad for a while. Then sometimes it's hard to go back into another one, but it's been worth it. It's been awesome. I have an amazing person who I'm in a relationship with. It's cool. That's exciting. So, part number 2, what method, technology, technique, or tool have I been working on? I've been working on staying motivated to balance and stabilize and do these, like this miracle morning. I've been like committed to it, even though I haven't been able to do it successfully because of like the crazy holiday schedule and schedule changes. With like the profession, with my son's schedule, it's been tricky to have a routine, and I'm a big routine guy, so I've been working on like having a routine even though I'm out of routine. So yoga, that's my tool right now. I try to do a little bit of it all the time, not all the time, but in the morning and a little bit before bed. So that's the practice. So if you're a yogi or a yogini and you have a part of a practice that you can take with you a little bit, that's it. I haven't been like in yoga classes for a while, but staying for 10 minutes or so of that little practice and meditation, even if it's fit in all right, I'm going to do this for 3 minutes. Just do this right now. And that keeps you holding on to something, and you're worth it. That you are worth doing that. So my technique has been do these practices even if you have to fit them in, and remember each day, sometimes if you're not in a routine, give yourself a little credit for putting that in there when you're not in a routine. That's the tool. And meditation has started to be a little better. It's still hard as hell to quiet that mind. But I'm doing 10 minutes pretty easily now. I mean, the whole time it's work. It's hard work, but I'm able to, like, if you will, latch on to that work throughout those 10 minutes. That's the tool. The third thing is a cultural observation. Birds. The birds. I was looking up. It's not springtime yet. The birds are not supposed to be coming back, and I'm not sure if it's an anomaly or if that's. I looked up and I saw this little flock of like white colored, almost like white and gray birds, almost the same color as seagulls, but really small, and in a flock, flying really high, looking up in the trees, and they flew over as if they were migrating. Now it just got me thinking, like, what the hell are those birds doing, like migrating right now? It's definitely not spring yet. Well, we've had a mild winter, and man, just birds have been on my mind a lot lately. Just like birds, that's all. They could help with if there's a question about like making people understand global warming or something, or if they agree with it or they like to disagree with it or refute the idea that there is global warming. If you can like say that the sea temperatures rising is not something that you can prove, or that scientists don't understand the ice melt, or if you can refute any of those facts, I mean, just go to an ornithologist, people who study migration patterns and species of birds, and these people are saying birds are migrating like earlier each year over the last 10 years. And the article I read was in December. Now, those people it doesn't matter if the temperature of the earth is getting warmer or why, but there's a change going on if the birds are coming north sooner than they used to. That's all we need to know. And that's a ground you can start with and say, hey, regardless of whether, why, like is greenhouse gases or methane or whatever causing this to happen, just ask the bird people and they'll tell you birds are coming back sooner. We don't know what to make of that, but let's agree that an awesome use of our time and energy is figuring out ways to produce less things that might cause our world to be getting warm at a premature rate. And I'd like to see people just be able to talk about those things like from the heart, and not like you're a dumb asshole if you don't agree with it, and you're a stupid person if you do agree with it. Just come from the heart. And what's the philosophy there? If you say, all right, yes, I grant you the world might be getting warmer, then you can go from there, and you don't have to trash that. Or if you think it isn't, you can say that, but I mean, how do you know it isn't? Is there a scientist saying no, it's exactly the same temperature? However, one more thing on that bird thing that would help if those articles didn't have headlines such as the following, the one that I read, which said, global warming causing birds to migrate earlier. It should have just said, birds observed migrating earlier. And, if asked, the bird experts might suggest that they've read it's getting warmer. Make things palatable. Don't divide people before they even read the damn article. Let people take real things in, and then process those things with heart. That's what we need to do. We need to go internal on stuff, and be kind and sincere about things, and realistic, and ease up on the attacks, for the love of God. That's the Mindful Revolution, and it will not be televised, or it will, but it'll be on like YouTube. Share the love. The Share the Love people? I just found out about them. The best family on YouTube. So right before I go, we're going to hear a song, and then if you stick around after the song, no, we're not going to hear a song. That wouldn't make any sense. I'm going to play this little phone call from this healer. His name is Ed Ratchford, and you can follow him at, Let Your Light Shine Today at gmail.com. I guess that's not a follow. That's just email him. Let Your Light Shine Today at gmail.com. Ed Ratchford is a heart-centered, holistic healer teaching body, mind, and spirit. And I met him a couple years back at like a group meditation course, and I reached out to him. I gave him a phone call. Or no, I think I reached out to him through the Meetup app, and he gave me a phone call, and I was enjoying that so much. This guy has a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of compassion, a big heart, and he's so giving away of that the more you get to hear him, the better. This little snippet is a lot about childhood, separated parents, childhood, compassion, well-being. So I'm going to play this for you. His name is Ed Ratchford, the healer. And here you go. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you right after Ed.
When I let go of my ego and I let go of my pride and the hurts that I felt by being abandoned by my kids,
Yeah.
and just said, well, what's best for them, and it just was. And so, and I really think that was a good decision, even though it was painful at the time, because I didn't want to. I wanted to see my kids 50%. I didn't want to just see them, for play dates or basketball games or dinners. But it's just, I think that was the best scenario for them.
Mm.
Yeah. Of course, that's something you and your ex-wife would have to work out to see, what would be best for your child. I'm just saying that with my kids.
Now, how old was she? How old was she when she was able to articulate that to you?
Much older than yours, though. So she was probably 16 or so.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But the feeling is the same. I mean, just because a 4-year-old can't express that doesn't mean it's any less prevalent in like what his actual experience of life is. So
it really could be.
That's one of the things, right. with a issue just started 3 weeks ago with getting out of bed in the middle of the night and crawling into my bed and crawling into mom's bed like in the middle of the night, like, or not wanting to, literally being an absolutely fearless kid until like a month ago, not wanting to go into the living room without me from the bedroom. It's like,
wow.
Yeah. And so you never know. Like, so
something has shifted.
These things, and so I Google it, and I see that other people are experiencing these same things, but there's a lot of like of attention that has to go into this nurturing and this and you could absolutely screw it up royally no matter how hard you try, right? I mean,
absolutely. and I think what's really key is that you and your ex-wife are nice to each other and cordial.
Yeah.
Because I know in a lot, like my divorce was ugly, okay, and my kids got put in the middle, and my kids all suffered. And I don't ever want to see that for another child or another family. It was awful.
Okay.
And I can't imagine what it was like for them, seeing us argue and us disparaging each other in front of kids, because they love each other. And then they hear us badmouthing each other, or they see us fighting, and it just tears them apart. And then, and then they get put in the middle, and then, money wars can begin, and they go, well, I paid for this, and telling the kids, and then the kids are in the middle of something that they never should be in the middle of. And a kid's not ready for that kind of conflict, and a kid doesn't want to see the parents like that. They want to see a united front, even if the family's no longer together.
Yeah.
And so it's so important. Like, my relationship with my ex actually really changed when we went and got co-parenting counseling. And that really was, so effective for us. That counselor was so good, and even though it was $200 an hour, okay, it was worth every bit of the emotional help that I see in my children now that they're not being put in those situations.
Okay. Any chance you could save me like $200 and drop some of that on me?
Yes, I can, and I'd gladly talk to. I would gladly talk to you and your ex-wife together.
Wow.
But I can tell you that it's what ends up happening oftentimes is that if the parents don't forgive each other, okay, the kids are going to eventually blame one parent or the other. They're going to take a side, and then one side is going to get alienated. All right, and then that's going to be bad for the kids, okay, because the child needs the relationship with both parents. All right, that's healthy, as long as neither parent is negligent or abusive. If you're both healthy adults and you guys just don't see eye to eye anymore, you've got to figure out a way to be cordial, to be pleasant, to put your grievances and differences aside and say, hey, what we had was great back then. It doesn't serve us either of us even more. But what would serve us is coming together for the health of our child, for the mental and emotional health of our child. And so many people can't do that because when you rip your soul apart from someone, it's a brutal process, and it is so hard. Like that first year after my divorce was the worst year of my life ever. And I was trying to raise 3 kids as a single dad 50% of the time, being depressed as anything. That was so hard. I feel for anyone going through a divorce, parents, the kids. The only people that really win in that is the lawyers. Those are the real winners of divorce.
Actually, yeah, it really does seem like that. I mean, because even with the limited means I had, I somehow between my family and stuff found a way to just, and so did my ex-wife. We both found ways to just throw a bunch of money at lawyers and really got nothing done from it, especially not emotionally. I mean, if anything.
Exactly.
And so I definitely have it, man. It's really cool to hear you talk with the feeling you have about that, the healing from that difficult freaking time. I mean, the fact that you said when you rip your soul apart, I mean, that's the type of feeling, like that sentence or that phrase literally goes through your head all the time. And it's the most, it really is the most deeply damaging like thing that you can possibly have in your head. So, to rip your soul apart, and then all of a sudden your children who are part of that on both sides of you and your spouse. So your children they have that, both of y'all's souls. So it really, it has to be done. They have to be mended. And it has taken me like too long to not do that completely, even though intellectually I need to fully like actually commit to, I don't want blame. I mean, there's a why. If I'm really being honest, I wanted there to be a blame. I wanted there to be definitely who was wrong in this situation. And,
right. Exactly.
And I kind of want to scrub. I want to scrub that from me ever having thought it now. I don't know if you can go back and unthink things, but I'd like to go forward with.
You've got to just start thinking with the difference. Like, so you have to unlearn what you've learned, and then you have to think different thoughts. And you have to look at even if someone was unfaithful, okay, which is the hardest betrayal of anything. Okay, I've never seen a marriage recover from that. But what I can say is that even if there was infidelity, or even if there really was reason to blame, okay, blaming is only going to destroy the children. It's only going to come in between the relationship when they choose sides, and then they can't have healthy relationships, and then they're going to be teenagers making really bad life decisions. And so, the sooner that you all can forgive and forget, you know, and really just treat each other as humans. And say, hey, we're parents. We don't have, our relationship is contractual now. You know, we're not connected. Our souls are untied. But boy, we have to come together for a united front for the benefit of our child. And our child's mental and emotional well-being, you know?
Yeah. I think there's another level of that I can get to now that you're talking about it. We've done a really good job, like, with the cordiality, but if you can actually take, you know, some energy up a notch to literally make sure he's actually celebrating all of who he is, you know, that's what I want to get to. And that's why it was cool to hear you say that, man. Well,
because the kids will also pick up on the energy no matter what you say. Okay, there's always an underlying energy, and energy doesn't lie. So
that's right. That's right. I mean, they pick up on the energy. Yeah. Okay, hey, so, I'm happy. I'm happy. Ex-wife calls. Ex-wife calls. Completely different energy.
And they pick that up.
They pick that up before they know words, right? I mean, that's crazy. We got to remember.
And so it's a transmission. It's an energetic, spiritual kind of transmission there that takes place. You may tell your kids one thing, but if they're sensing something else, okay, they're getting mixed messages.
Yeah.
And so you've got to get to that point where you really forgive, okay? You really have let go of that pain and anger and resentment or whatever else that you may be feeling, to really heal. And so that when the kids can see you guys getting along, and then feel it when you're together, they also feel you're the same.
Yeah.
That, you know, when you can think about your ex and you don't get a tugging in your chest, or you don't feel weird, or you don't get a bad thought in your head.
Yeah.
When you can think about your ex, then you know you feel. And until then, you've got work to do.
Yeah. Nice.
I tell people that divorce is like a debt that keeps on giving. You know?
What?
It's worse than death. You know?
Yeah.
You know, when someone dies, you can let them go. But man, when you rip that person's soul apart from yours, and then you guys keep stabbing at each other and taking swipes, and I mean, sometimes you just keep sticking your finger in that wound and it never heals.
Yeah, I know. You're so right. It's like, how many times? I've been like, I mean, early on it was exactly like that, and I couldn't get away from that, but I knew I needed to, man, and that's why I'm trying to graduate to that final level to achieve that exact joy that you're talking about, that you now can experience and that you now are going forward with. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's been 8 years. 8 years. Okay.
8 damn years.
8 years to get here.
All right. 8 years.
Well, hey man, what Sunday you open?
I think that this will be my first Sunday open in the evening this coming weekend. How is that for you?
I'm open. Yeah, my girlfriend comes to spend the night on Friday and Saturday, but usually Sunday mornings we part ways, and you know we do our chores and whatever else, get ready for the work week. And so I'll definitely have Sunday evening available if you'd like to get together somewhere.
Yeah,
we can meet here at your place, or we can meet in public, whatever would be comfortable for you.
Yeah, it seems like you would have no trouble like having a just as authentic a conversation at home, even though you're at your own domestic environment. Is that cool at your place?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I love it. This is my sacred healing space, and I love to invite people into it. Just because I invite the light in here every day, to just flow here and be here for anyone I can get to come to my house. You know, and so I have game nights, and I have meditations, and I have all kinds of, I do as much entertaining here as I can. I love my home. Because it's filled with love.
Yeah.
It's not the nicest house.
Yeah.
It's filled with love.
Yeah, no, it was awesome being there. I think I've been there twice. Do you recall?
I've had hundreds of people come through over the last 4 or 5 years, so I can't recall meeting you. I'm so sorry that I don't recall our specific meeting.
Okay.
But I bet if I see you, I may remember.
You'll probably be like, oh, yeah, that was that one guy that didn't really say anything because he was meditating.
But, I always trust that people come and they get what they need, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And the hardest part for me is, sometimes I'll get a core group every 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic changes, and I fall in love with all my students and all these people that come meditate,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go and they receive what they need and they move on in their journey, and then I've got a different batch, and as a teacher, that's the hardest thing to get used to, is letting those kind of students go, and because you love them, man, we had such a good group here 2 years ago, and we got a great one now, and I know that in another 6 months, this group will probably be dissipated, and there'll be a new one for me. So it's always kind of a transition,
Yeah. That's really interesting. When there's different different little dynamics, but the ones that seem to cluster together for a little period of time. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I love building little communities like that. I love doing that. Building community, especially with people that are of different backgrounds. I love diversity. At the meditation center that I volunteer at, I'm in charge of diversifying and bringing in new people and new different people from different spiritual backgrounds.
That's awesome.
That's part of what I do there.
So it's cool.
Man.
It's
so
cool.
Sunday, if you want to come.
Yeah, is it cool if I'm like the only black guy?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I mean,
I'm not black.
Oh, I'm like, we don't. Everyone here is cool. I have.
All
Really awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, you're hilarious.
Yeah. I was wondering. Don't judge my voice.
The strangest question. Oh, I love that. Oh.
It's all good. Man, I really appreciate you getting my email and then calling. That was cool to hear from you, dude. Sunday at 6.
Okay. I think I emailed you my address.
Yep.
And you've been here before.
Yeah.
So 6 o'clock would be fantastic.
All right. Awesome. Have a great day, Ed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Same here. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What did you think? If you're still there, if you're still listening, thank you so much. I hope you got a little out of that, and get ready for a huge conversation with Ed on one of the following episodes. That would be Ed Ratchford, the holistic healer who heals and offers advice and basically just anything, I guess, for free. So thank you so much for listening. Follow the Joyful Podcast at Ethan Sherritt Official. You can find it on iTunes. Please suggest it. Leave a comment on iTunes how you think it's coming along. I'm trying to improve this thing here. And your comments, if you can tell it's being improved, it would be so awesome to have. You can comment on Spotify. Actually, I don't know if Spotify supports comments, but it's on Spotify. It's on Podbean, iTunes, Amazon Play. Whatever people listen to, you can suggest it. And that would be so appreciated. And if you'd like to be on any episode, get in touch at ethansherritt@gmail.com or just email any questions. God bless and namaste.